T.D. Jakes and the furious modern sister backlash against his Father's Day sermon. Before I speak, here's the infamous Father's Day clip from T.D. Jakes' sermon, but this time with better context as the worldly women focus only on the salacious part of his quote without the few seconds beforehand.
We were not designed to receive from women. Your self-esteem is compromised when you have to ask your wife for lunch money. I'm not saying you got to be rich. I'm not saying you got to be famous. I'm saying that you have got to be the one who pours in, not the one who takes out. When Adam started eating out of his wife's hand, sin came in because the divine order was broken. Are you hearing what I'm saying to you? And Adam all of a sudden has allowed the curse to come because he stopped pouring. Women, be careful about pouring too much into us. We are designed to pour into you. And you are designed to take what we pour into you and increase it and make it better. You increase it, you appreciate it, and you multiply it. This breaks all sociological orders of the culture we're living in now, because we are raising up women to be men. This breaks all sociological orders of the culture we're living in now, because we are raising up women to be men. And you are not applauded for your femininity. You are applauded in the contemporary society by how tough, rough, nasty, mean, aggressive, hateful, possessive you are, and you are climbing the corporate ladder, but we are losing our families. I know you can buy your own car. I know you can buy your own house, but until you create a need that I can pour into, I have no place in your life. So stop coming home bragging to me about how much you don't need me and wonder why I shy away. Oh, y'all ain't gonna talk back to me this morning. The conversation has become, let's prove to the men how dispensable they are. And it is born out of pain because we hurt you.
As you see, he was pretty balanced when you put it in context. Now, here's a response from the infamous blame all men cause women are perfect Fox Soul team of women, but they use only the popular clip without the full context I just showed.
Everything she just said, the part that kind of it don't steam appease, it just kind of, it gets on my nerves a little bit. It's like this. In a time where women couldn't vote, we couldn't do anything, we couldn't say anything, we were dependent upon men to do everything, to have bank accounts, to have money, to do anything. They put the houses over our heads, the clothes on our bodies, food on the table, all of that, and we were basically just housewives. And this was, we're talking a long time ago, right? So we were kind of beholden and needing men to survive. Then we evolved, time changed. And you know what happened to men? For whatever reasons, because there are lots of different reasons, stopped being in those roles.
If you're doing it, stop it. Get some help.
which left women alone to do both of the roles, their roles and then the role of the man.
And as you can see, modern sisters keep regurgitating the same old tired anti-brother trope where supposedly not one of the tens of millions of black men over 6 decades have stepped up to the plate to be fathers and husbands, and that poor little innocent sisters have had to struggle to take over as the man in their children's lives. Oh boy, that's not even statistically possible for a 60-year period. This false, made-up notion has been debunked by experts many years ago, but modern black women don't want to hear that. But I digress. It is rather interesting that a truthful and relatively harmless snippet of a sermon by T.D. Jakes recently has turned into something of a controversial remark that has stirred up the spirit of Jezebel among many modern sisters. Of course, these are the same church sisters who love it when pastors only speak to them of Bible verses favorable to their rebellious "I don't need a man" spirit, such as their misunderstanding of that now infamous Proverbs verse, "He that finds a wife finds a good thing." Never mind the fact that they themselves don't feel the need to listen to the many verses that tell women to prepare themselves to be brides, or to submit to their husbands, or to be silent in church from a pastoral leadership perspective. To them, these are the bad verses in the Bible, the boogeyman, that surely was misinterpreted by the scholars hired by King James over 400 years ago. They cherry-pick 1% of the Bible to satisfy their inflated egos, ignoring the vast majority of the other Bible books, especially those where kings had hundreds of wives with a pecking order of favorite women. They ignore the 7 churches in Revelation, which are essentially 7 brides of Jesus Christ. There are even Christian feminists who attack the Apostle Paul for daring to tell young widows to get married again to avoid becoming busybodies as single moms. Didn't Revelation say not to add to or subtract from the Bible? Yet these church hyenas do just that. So why am I bringing all this up? I'm personally no fan of some of T.D. Jakes' sermons, though I am a Christian and do like some lesser known, more humble pastors who don't need the limelight to spread the gospel. But when Pastor Jakes got too cozy with the demonic Hollywood crowd and even giving some of them the choicest VIP parking spots and other accommodations at his church campus here in Dallas, I was highly critical of that back in the day. Jesus Christ spoke on that very topic of giving preferential treatment like VIP stars to the famous and powerful people of this world. So, given that as a backdrop, I am unbiased in my support of this Father's Day sermon. In fact, T.D. Jakes indeed shocked me when he actually dared to go up against the woman thou art loosed institution of matriarchy that he created and challenge sisters' masculine insistence on being independent women who don't need a man. Unlike most of the YouTube videos that played that now infamous quote of T.D. Jakes going in hard on the masculinity of modern women, I actually went back to his Father's Day video, the whole video that started it all, and found that much of his sermon was actually favorable towards mothers, even though it was supposed to be a Father's Day sermon. I bet you he didn't talk about this in his Mother's Day sermon. And yet, just like when the comedian Monique went out of her way to be nice to sisters before chastising them for wearing bonnets in public, so have many sisters ignored the 90% of this sermon that was actually favorable towards them. And they jumped on the one quote out of context that their dark spirits hated.
This breaks all sociological orders of the culture we're living in now, because we are raising up women to be men.
Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so we can keep this new channel growing. In a future video, I will probably cover more in depth the notable black feminist reactions from man-hating platforms like this Foxhole clip I showed earlier and others who had something to say about Jakes.
want a man to come in and help us and take over, and not take over and make us treat us like dogs, but take over and allow us to be able to rest.
Preach.
But there aren't any. And if you think we're out here just loving and having to be independent, you're wrong.
In this video, I wanted to react only to what Jake said in context. I agree with the gist of it, with some doctrinal disagreements. He actually did a good, balanced job, like I said earlier, in discussing how every home needs balance, both father and mother, independent women out there, both father and mother, and that the word of God started from the Father, who poured his command into the earth to finish his creation. Similarly, God created Adam to pour his seed into the woman Eve. In other words, the man pours into her to create life, and the woman receives from him to nurture and grow that life in her.
Women, be careful about pouring too much into us. We are designed to pour into you.
Long story short, women can't pour creation into themselves. Did you hear that, independent women? Let me repeat that, because y'all love TD Jakes. Even the Foxhole women said they respect him, even though they were speaking out both sides of their mouth. Let me say it again, though. Women can't pour creation into themselves. That's what TD Jakes was talking about. Men and women need each other for creation. And that's why women need to stop saying they're independent, because they are working against the spiritual order of creation, as if the earth can say, I don't need God, I'm independent. Ironically, ladies, Satan was the first one to say he didn't need God, that he was independent, a free thinker with his own mind. Does that sound familiar? Hint, hint, ladies. He had a rebellious spirit that hated the authority of God over creation, similar to the attitude a lot of women, modern women, have towards men today. And they wonder where all the real men are. Real men are not attracted to that rebellious, independent, hateful mindset.
This breaks all sociological orders of the culture we're living in now, because we are raising up women to be men.
They make a blanket, slanderous statement against all the many millions of good brothers from over the course of 60 years, accusing all of us of failing to be fathers and husbands, of abandoning them and their mothers before them, and that the victimized sisters had no choice but to become the man and woman of the house, which is absolutely ridiculous. And they wonder why so many of our children are confused today. They are so delusional that they really think all of the voluntary bedroom fun they had with brothers over the past 6 decades was all the man's fault, and that they were harmless, perfect creatures who just happened to get pregnant. Dream on, deluded ones. I agree with most of Jake's Father's Day sermon, though I thought parts of it gave women a pass. Actually, if you listen to the whole thing, you short-minded people out there, listen to the whole thing. He actually was more friendly with women in the Father's Day sermon. And he kind of sneak dissed men without calling out women who put fathers out of the lives of the children with the help of the gynocracy-based government system. And that's kind of, and that's kind of what was missing in the Father's Day sermon. I mean, he kind of almost blamed men for why women had to step up to be, fathers and husbands. So he kind of spoke out both sides of his mouth as well, but he did a good job in that one quote, though. But what I'm saying is, you can't put it all on men. I mean, a lot of women out there push men out of the children's lives too. And we got to talk about that. We got to stop being quiet about that. And we're going to speak about that in the church as well. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so we can keep this new channel growing. Until modern women stop falsely accusing men of their own mistakes and hateful, I don't need a man Western attitudes, the apocalypse of good men will continue. Welcome to the Brother Apocalypse.